Welcome back to another Sleepy Steve story. I hope you are tucked in, comfortable, and warm. Go on, adjust your pillow if you need to, let your shoulders drop, and allow the day to slow down around you, because there is absolutely no rush tonight, none at all. Before we drift off tonight, remember to subscribe to help Steve-O out, and I will keep making more sleepy stories to help you study gently, revise quietly, and settle your mind at the end of the day. We are beginning VCE Psychology, Unit 3, Area of Study 1. Tonight, we are looking at how the nervous system enables psychological functioning, and we are going to move slowly through the structure of the nervous system, the way messages travel through neurons, the role of neurotransmitters, the difference between conscious and unconscious responses, the spinal reflex, and the way the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems help the body respond to the world around it. You do not need to memorize all of that right now. You do not need to write anything down. Just let the ideas drift gently into your mind, the way soft light drifts through a quiet room at the end of the day. Let us take a slow breath in together, right down into the belly, and let it go, slowly. Now imagine that we are sitting in a calm study room late in the evening with a small lamp glowing on the desk, a notebook open beside us, and rain tapping lightly against the window. Outside, the world is moving quietly, but inside the room, everything is still. There is a pencil resting across the page, a cup of warm tea beside the lamp, and one simple heading written neatly at the top of the notebook: the nervous system. In psychology, the nervous system matters because it helps explain how the body receives information, processes information, and produces responses. It helps explain how you notice a sound in the room, how you pull your hand away from something hot, how your heart begins to beat faster when you feel stressed, and how your body slowly settles again once the threat has passed. The nervous system is not separate from behavior and mental processes. It is deeply connected to them. It is the communication network of the body. And because psychological functioning involves thoughts, feelings, actions, attention, memory, perception, stress, and learning, the nervous system becomes one of the most important foundations of Unit 3 Psychology. So tonight, let us begin with the big picture. The nervous system can be divided into two main parts: the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. The central nervous system is made up of the brain and the spinal cord. The brain is the main control center, receiving information, processing it, coordinating responses, and supporting complex psychological processes such as thinking, remembering, feeling, deciding, and paying attention. The spinal cord is a long bundle of nerve tissue running down from the brain through the spine, carrying messages between the brain and the body, and also allowing some very fast responses to occur without the message needing to travel all the way to the brain first. Together, the brain and spinal cord form the central nervous system. The peripheral nervous system includes all the nerves outside the brain and spinal cord. It connects the central nervous system to the rest of the body, carrying sensory information inwards and motor information outwards, like a quiet set of pathways linking a central station to every suburb and street beyond it. If you imagine the central nervous system as the warm lamp on the desk, steady and central, then the peripheral nervous system is like all the soft lines of light reaching outward from it, carrying signals to and from the rest of the body. Let your breathing remain slow. in and out. The peripheral nervous system can be divided again. One branch is the somatic nervous system. The somatic nervous system is involved in voluntary movement and the transmission of sensory information from the body to the central nervous system. It helps you move skeletal muscles deliberately, such as lifting your hand, turning a page, walking across a room, or choosing to stretch your shoulders before resting again. It also carries sensory information from receptors in the body, such as information about touch, temperature, pressure, pain, sight, sound, smell, and taste. When you feel the softness of a blanket, notice the weight of your body, or decide to adjust your position, the somatic nervous system is involved. The other branch of the peripheral nervous system is the autonomic nervous system. The autonomic nervous system regulates many internal bodily functions that usually occur without conscious control, such as heart rate, breathing rate, digestion, pupil dilation, blood pressure, and the release of certain hormones. You do not normally need to tell your heart to beat. You do not normally need to instruct your digestive system to work. Your autonomic nervous system helps manage these processes quietly in the background, like a caretaker moving through a building at night, making sure the heating, lights, and doors are all working properly. The autonomic nervous system can also be divided into two important parts: the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system prepares the body for action when it detects a threat, stressor, or challenge. It is associated with increased arousal, and it helps produce what is often called the fight-flight-freeze response. When the sympathetic nervous system is activated, heart rate may increase, breathing may become faster, pupils may dilate, blood glucose may be released for energy, and blood flow may be directed towards skeletal muscles so the body is ready to respond. This response can be useful when quick action is needed. If you hear a sudden loud sound, if you narrowly avoid danger, or if you are about to perform under pressure, the sympathetic nervous system can help mobilize energy. But the body is not meant to remain in that heightened state forever. After the challenge has passed, the parasympathetic nervous system helps return the body towards a calmer, more balanced state. It slows the heart rate, supports digestion, reduces breathing rate, and helps conserve energy. This process is sometimes described as rest and digest, because the parasympathetic nervous system helps the body recover, restore, and settle. So as you lie there now, quiet and comfortable, you might imagine the sympathetic nervous system as the body gently pressing the accelerator when action is needed, and the parasympathetic nervous system as the body easing off, slowing down, and allowing everything to become calm again. Both systems matter, both are useful, and psychological functioning depends on the body being able to move between arousal and recovery in ways that suit the situation. Let us take another slow breath, in and out. Now, to understand how the nervous system communicates, we need to look at the neuron. A neuron is a specialized nerve cell that receives, processes, and transmits information throughout the nervous system. Neurons are the basic functional units of the nervous system, and they allow messages to travel from one part of the body to another through electrical and chemical processes. A typical neuron has several important parts. The dendrites receive information from other neurons. The soma, or cell body, contains the nucleus and helps maintain the cell. The axon carries the neural message away from the soma towards other neurons, muscles, or glands. The myelin sheath is a fatty insulating layer that covers parts of the axon and helps speed up transmission of the neural impulse. And the axon terminals are located at the end of the axon, where the neuron can communicate with the next cell. This communication does not happen by the neurons touching directly. Between one neuron and the next, there is a tiny gap called the synapse, and the message crosses this gap using chemical messengers called neurotransmitters. So, if we follow the journey slowly, the message is received by the dendrites, travels through the soma, moves along the axon, reaches the axon terminals, and then chemical neurotransmitters are released into the synaptic gap. Those neurotransmitters bind to receptor sites on the next neuron, rather like a key fitting into a lock, and if the conditions are right, the next neuron may be activated to continue the message. This process is called synaptic transmission. It is one of the basic ways the nervous system communicates. Quietly, quickly, constantly. Even as you rest, your nervous system is active in ways you do not need to notice. Neurotransmitters can have excitatory or inhibitory effects. An excitatory effect makes it more likely that the next neuron will fire and pass on the message. An inhibitory effect makes it less likely that the next neuron will fire. The nervous system relies on both types of effects, because effective communication is not only about sending messages, but also about controlling when messages should be reduced, slowed, or stopped. In this way, the brain and nervous system are not simply switched on or off. They are carefully regulated through patterns of activation and inhibition, with different messages strengthened or softened depending on what the body and mind need at the time. Some chemical messengers are also neuromodulators. A neuromodulator can influence the effect of neurotransmitters or change the way groups of neurons communicate, helping to regulate broader patterns of nervous system activity. You do not need to hold every chemical name in your mind tonight. For now, simply remember the general idea. Neurons communicate through electrical signals within the neuron and chemical signals between neurons. Dendrites receive, axons carry, axon terminals release, neurotransmitters cross the synapse, receptor sites receive the message, and the nervous system continues its quiet conversation. Now imagine the rain outside becoming a little softer and the light from the desk lamp becoming a little warmer. The next idea is the difference between conscious and unconscious responses. A conscious response is one that involves awareness and often deliberate control. For example, if you decide to pick up a pen, move your hand, write a word, or turn your head towards a sound, you are engaging in a response that involves conscious awareness and voluntary movement. The somatic nervous system is usually involved in these voluntary actions. An unconscious response occurs without deliberate awareness or conscious control. For example, your pupils may change size in response to light. Your heart rate may increase when you feel alarmed. Digestion may slow when stress increases, and some protective reflexes may occur before you have time to think. These unconscious responses are important because they allow the body to respond quickly and efficiently to internal and external conditions. One of the clearest examples is the spinal reflex. A spinal reflex is a simple, automatic response to a stimulus that is processed through the spinal cord rather than requiring immediate input from the brain. Imagine touching something unexpectedly hot. Sensory receptors in the skin detect the painful heat. A sensory neuron carries the message towards the spinal cord. Inside the spinal cord, an interneuron helps transfer the message. A motor neuron then carries a response message to the muscles. The muscles contract and your hand pulls away. This can happen very quickly before the brain has fully processed the pain. A moment later, the message reaches the brain and you become consciously aware of what happened. The spinal reflex is useful because it helps protect the body from harm by allowing a fast response. It is not a thoughtful response. It is not a planned response. It is automatic, protective, and rapid. In VCE psychology, this example helps show that not all behavior begins with conscious decision-making, and that the nervous system can coordinate both voluntary and involuntary responses. Let us take another slow breath, in and out. Now let us connect the nervous system to stress. Stress begins when a person experiences or perceives a stressor, which is a stimulus or event that challenges their ability to cope. A stressor can be physical, such as injury, illness, heat, or lack of sleep, or psychological, such as an exam, conflict, uncertainty, pressure, or fear. When the body detects a threat or challenge, the sympathetic nervous system can become activated. This leads to physiological changes that prepare the body for action. The heart beats faster, breathing changes, energy becomes more available. Muscles may become tense, attention may narrow towards the possible threat. This is the fight-flight-freeze response. Fight means preparing to confront the threat. Flight means preparing to escape the threat. Freeze means becoming still, alert, and ready, sometimes when movement is not immediately possible or useful. This response is adaptive in many situations because it helps the body survive and respond to danger, but if stress is frequent, intense, or prolonged, the body may spend too much time in a heightened state, and this can affect psychological and physical functioning. Later in this area of study, we can look more deeply at stress, cortisol, coping, and models of stress. But for tonight, the main idea is that the nervous system enables the body to respond to challenges, and those responses can influence behavior, emotion, and mental processes. As the sympathetic nervous system activates the body, the parasympathetic nervous system later helps calm it down. It is this movement between activation and recovery that allows the body to respond to the world while still returning towards balance. This balance is sometimes connected to the idea of homeostasis, which means maintaining a relatively stable internal environment despite changes inside or outside the body. Your body is constantly making small adjustments: temperature, heart rate, breathing, energy, attention, arousal. The nervous system is part of that constant adjustment. It notices, it communicates, it coordinates, it responds, and then, when possible, it settles. Let your own breathing be part of that settling now. Slowly in, slowly out. As we near the end of tonight's episode, let us quietly review the pathway we have taken. The nervous system helps the body receive information, process information, and produce responses. The central nervous system is made up of the brain and spinal cord. The peripheral nervous system includes the nerves outside the brain and spinal cord. The somatic nervous system supports voluntary movement and carries sensory information. The autonomic nervous system regulates internal bodily functions that usually occur without conscious control. The sympathetic nervous system prepares the body for action, especially during stress, threat, or challenge. The parasympathetic nervous system helps the body calm down, conserve energy, and return towards balance. Neurons are specialized nerve cells that communicate through electrical and chemical processes. Dendrites receive messages. The soma supports the cell. The axon carries the message away. Myelin helps speed transmission. Axon terminals release neurotransmitters. The synapse is the tiny gap between neurons. Neurotransmitters cross the synapse and bind to receptor sites. Excitatory effects make firing more likely. Inhibitory effects make firing less likely. Conscious responses involve awareness and voluntary control. Unconscious responses occur without deliberate control. The spinal reflex shows how the body can respond quickly to protect itself before conscious awareness fully catches up. And stress shows how the nervous system can prepare the body for action through the fight-flight-freeze response before the parasympathetic nervous system helps the body settle again. You do not need to hold every detail tonight. You do not need to repeat the terms over and over. Just let the structure remain gently in the background. Brain and spinal cord, central and peripheral, somatic and autonomic, sympathetic and parasympathetic, neurons and synapses, messages and responses. A body that notices the world, communicates within itself, and helps you respond. Now imagine the notebook closing softly on the desk. The pencil is placed beside it. The lamp continues to glow for a little while longer. Outside, the rain becomes softer, and the window reflects only a quiet room, a warm light, and the calm feeling of study finished for the day. Your nervous system has done enough for now. Your body can rest, your breathing can slow, your mind can drift. This has been Sleepy Steve, helping you fall asleep and study. Good night.